Hello, my name is Dave Schwartz. I'm the author of Roll the Bones, A History of Gambling, Casino Edition, which you see right here. I think you can see that. I can see it. It's a book that was originally published in 2006 and which I've just re-released in a new casino edition, which means basically more about casinos and less about lotteries and racing. I talked about that in an earlier YouTube video. One of the other changes in the book that I didn't mention in that video is that now I've put subsections in the chapters. So instead of having 25 or 30 pages to read, and if you don't finish that in one sitting, you feel like you didn't accomplish anything and all sorts of bad things start happening. I've got little subsections that can be maybe 2 to 10 pages each. And I think it makes the book much more digestible and kind of breaks it up a little bit. So that's one of the fun things that I've changed. Now, in this series of videos, I'm going to walk you through the book. I've been told that people like videos, and I figure what better video for the book than to have the author talk about the book and tell you a little bit about what you can expect. So, the prologue. How do you start a book about thousands of years of gambling history with so much to choose from? A lot of times, historical books like this will start with one historical incident and then take you back to the beginning. And I thought that was a good approach. And I tried to think of the most vivid image I could find dealing with gambling. And I thought it would be an army of Puritans marching on an Indian village in Connecticut, intent on burning it down and destroying it and wiping the Pequot tribe from the earth. This is appropriate to start it with because then, several hundred years later, gambling in a casino, Foxwoods Casino in fact, helps the Pequot tribe make an incredible resurgence in Connecticut. So I thought this would introduce the concept of gambling as this force that can turn fortune and fate upside down and right wrongs and probably wrong rights as well. So that was why I started the prologue with that. Then I talk a little bit about the general scope of gambling, letting people know what's in the field out there. I didn't want to walk through the book and summarize it here. I don't really like that as a reader. It kind of distracts me, and I figure I'd rather just get right to the book. So I do. I get right to the action with Chapter 1, which starts on the next page and is about 10,000 years of gambling history condensed into 20 pages for your reading pleasure. First, I talk about the origins of gambling, going back to caveman times. Then I jump ahead to the invention of mercantile gambling or commercial gambling, which happened after the year 1000 in Europe. And essentially, this is the way that games could be honest and make a good living for the house. If the house offered only social games, you couldn't consistently make money at them if you're just offering them to the public. Really, the only way to do that is to have games with a built-in house edge, such as blackjack, Keno, slot machines, games like that. So I talk about how they developed in Europe. Also talk about the first casino, which opened in Venice in 1638 and was called the Ridotto. It was very popular, very successful. I talk about the kinds of people that went, some of the more famous people, including Casanova, and then talk about the demise of the Ridotto more than 100 years after it opened. But the gambling story doesn't end there. In the next section, I talk about the appearance of modern games like Faro and the flourishing of gambling in 17th century France. And this really was one of the first societies in the world to embrace gambling and bring it right out front. From there, I talk about gambling in the Revolutionary era in France, which has a lot of implications in the future, and that's how the chapter wraps up. So right after the French Revolution, a little bit about Napoleon, and we have the stage set for the spread of casino-style gambling across Europe. So that is the first chapter of Roll the Bones Casino Edition. I encourage you to learn more about the book at rollthebonesbook.com. Thanks for watching. 30.